Hey guys, welcome back to the Real Southern Garden. I'm Sarah, and today I'm going to share with you how to work smarter, not harder in your garden. And I know that we're all looking for ways to do that. So I'm going to share 5 game-changing tips with you that I think are going to really surprise you and help you out in your garden this year. All right, to start, look at this beautiful spring day, and we still have all the daffodils in bloom back here, so I'm going to shoot right here, of course, so we can just soak it all up. All right, so to begin with, I'm going to show you, this is my favorite garden tool. This is my daddy's shovel. I've had it since I was a little girl, probably 4 years old. I wasn't really using it much at 4, but he was, and I was out there with him, so hold on. So this shovel right here, we called it a sharpshooter. And this is an old shovel from, it is probably 50 or 60 years old. I'm not even sure the exact age of when he got it. But it isn't your traditional garden shovel. It's a trenching shovel. Sometimes they'll call it a trenching shovel. We called it a sharpshooter. I've seen it listed that way on different websites too. This one had a wooden handle. A lot of the ones on the market now are like fiberglass, I think, or metal. And we actually had to replace this handle. My dad did it once. But I'm gonna keep the shovel forever because it's his. There are a lot of new ones on the market. I haven't tried out the new ones yet, so I can't tell you which one I think is the best or anything like that. But of course, Amazon has some good options. I think Tractor Supply actually has one that's highly rated that I did look at and reasonably priced as well that I think would be a good match for this one. But the reason why I love it is because if you're like me and you don't have as much power in the garden, my husband can get out here and he can dig holes really well, or he can use like the pole digger. The pole digger is way too heavy for me. It doesn't work. But this little shovel right here, because of the way it's shaped, it just gives me a lot more power in the garden, especially in this Georgia clay. If I'm trying to plant something, even in my flower beds that are already amended, I can just do a lot better job with this kind of a shovel, trenching shovel or sharpshooter, whatever you call it. This saves me a lot of time in the garden. It is my favorite tool that I have. I don't have an auger, even if I did have one, which maybe one day. There are some things it just won't go through. There's a lot of rocks and things like that in some of the beds that I've been renovating, and this little guy works really, really well, where the auger likely would not. So check this out. If you don't already have a shovel like this, be on the lookout for one, because this will help you out in your garden, give you some extra power when you're trying to dig. My number 2 tip for working smarter and not harder in your garden is to kind of focus in. This kind of goes back to our goals for 2025, but focus in on 1 or 2 things that you really want to get done this growing season. For example, one year I really focused in on the vegetable garden. Another year I really focused in on my rose garden. Another year I really worked on the front flower beds that were right in front of my home. So each year I have something that I'm like, I'm going to focus in on that. I'm going to put most of my new plants there. That's what I'm going to try to build up. And I think if you do that, it gives you more direction. It also makes you feel like at the end of the growing season, you really accomplished something, and you can actually see it because it's kind of a big impact spot because you put it all in one place. So that is a really great tip, is have a strategy and really have something that you really want to focus on. Maybe it's putting evergreens in that year or building up your perennial bed, whatever it is. Figure out what matters most to you and really work on that first. So that's number 2. All right, and then number 3, this goes back to a video that we did recently about, it's a cardboard paper that I use to keep my flower beds maintained. So these are flower beds that have already been made. They're at least 1 year old, and I will go over them with a cardboard paper. I will link this video in the description if you haven't seen it. And after all my perennials pop up and my bulbs are popped up, I'll go over that bed, going around those plants, by the way. If you're going to cover the bulbs up, make sure they've already died back when you do it. But I put down that paper, the cardboard paper, and then I put my mulch on top. And I get it all done in all of my beds before like mid-June, when it really starts to get hot here. And then I don't have to weed much at all in July and August and September. So that is what I do every year to garden smarter, not harder. So if you haven't seen that video, check that out. But that is tip number 3. All right, and then tip number 4. I don't think I have heard anyone else talk about this on YouTube. Through all the years I've watched YouTube and everything. Maybe they have. I always say that because you never know. Someone will say, Sarah, I saw someone talked about this recently. But one thing that I do to get inspiration for my own garden, besides going to botanical gardens and checking out other people's gardens and watching YouTube, is I will really pay attention to commercial plantings in my city. So I mean outside of banks, outside of hotels especially, city squares, businesses, all of that. I look at the plant combinations and what they put in and what these big landscape companies do. A lot of like say, malls and retail centers, they have these big landscape companies they contract with, of course, and they go and make everything look beautiful. But I get a lot of inspiration from just seeing the plant combinations and the colors and the different things they use. And then I kind of decide like, hey, I like the way that looks, or I don't, or whatever. And I use it in my own garden. So it's really simple, but just next time you're driving around your own town, look and see what some of these commercial landscapers do and adapt some of the ideas or the colors in your own garden. And another great thing about doing that is generally whatever those commercial landscapers are using in your area, those are going to be plants that do pretty well, or they're not going to use them. For the most part, there's always exceptions where they mess it up, but usually they're plants that do really well, and you can kind of tell it from the location if it's full sun or it's part shade or whatever, and you can mimic that in your own garden. All right, and the next tip I have is rotate the areas of your garden that you're working on. So what I always do for weeding or just maintenance type issues with my garden is I will do, say I'm going to maintain the front flower bed and work on that one weekend or 1 week, whatever time you have. And then the next weekend, when I'm out in the garden, or week, whatever your time frame is for working outside, I do the rose garden. And then the next time I'm out, I'm moving over and I'm doing the vegetable garden. And then the next time, in other words, I divide it up and I rotate areas where I make them look great. Because it's really hard, of course, to have everything look fabulous at the same exact time, but you can have it looking pretty good as long as you just rotate from spot to spot and do that if you're gardening every weekend, or maybe you do it every night when you get home from work, or if you're able to do it during the week the entire time. Whatever the case is, work on one area and accomplish that, then work on the next area and accomplish that, then the next, and then the next. And I just rotate like that through the whole growing season, and I find that it works a lot better, and I'm also not worried or stressed out about, oh my gosh, I have to go do this and do this and do this, because I'm focusing on each one each time, and that way it just all stays looking pretty good the entire season. And my number 6 tip, you're going to be seeing me using these really soon. This is a brand called Slarmore. I don't know if I said it right. It's come in this really neat little bag, but they are rose gloves or garden gloves. I call them my rose gloves because they are all the way up to your elbow. However, I use these all over my garden, all over my property. This is a game changer. It's garden smarter when you have yourself protected. Tell me about it. I've had things, I don't even try to do anything on this property anymore without long gloves like this. But obviously it protects you from rose thorns, poison ivy. If you're gonna work around that, I definitely wear long sleeve shirts and wear these gloves and be very careful. But by wearing long pants, boots, something that covers my arms completely, and gloves, I have worked around it successfully and never got it on me. So anyway, but these are really, really great for rose gardening. I always pick a vibrant color. They are all leather palms, and I always like a couple pairs of real leather gloves for the season, because there's nothing like the way that they last when they are real leather. And so the palms of these are real leather, and then it's synthetic up here on the arm from like here up. They do have some that are complete full leather if you want that. They're just a lot tougher, and they hold up a lot better. And I like a pink color like this, or yellow, or whatever, because when I throw them down in the grass, and I always inevitably when I throw them down in the grass, I can find them very easily, because it always happens. Somebody calls me from the house, or I need something or whatever, and I leave them outside. So I can always find these in the grass. So pick yourself a vibrant color. You'll be glad that you did. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It is such a beautiful, beautiful spring day. I'm going to be out here all day long. But we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know where you garden, or if you have any really cool garden strategies for working smarter, not harder. I'd love to hear those too. Anything that you'd like to share, always love to talk to you guys in the comments. And I will see you back here next time in the next video right here at the Real Southern Garden. Bye, guys.